Oh, Mick's dead. Oh.
Oh, Mick, you're alive! He's alive, guys.
We know it's sad, but we can't help but laugh. The MCU has given us some outstanding moments throughout its incredible run. Most of them hilarious, others heartbreaking, but it's those special times where humor and sadness mesh together like Professor Hulk that the MCU truly shines. Today we'll be looking at the saddest moments in the MCU that are also really funny, because who doesn't enjoy a good cry laugh? Let's get into it right now. The biggest surprise in Avengers Endgame wasn't seeing all the heroes come back from their dust naps. Nope, it was seeing Fat Thor in all of his glory. Seeing the former hunky god of thunder turn chunky god of thunder was a mixture of sad and hilarious. On one hand, Thor was clearly traumatized by the events of Infinity War, carrying immense guilt because he didn't aim for the head to kill Thanos and falling into a deep depression that caused him to gain weight. That's heartbreaking. But on the other hand, Rocket called Thor melted ice cream, so we can't help but laugh. His arc clearly hits its climax once on Asgard with Rocket. It's here we truly see how scared and sad Thor really is, doubting his worthiness and general usefulness to the mission. The angry rabbit tells him to man up because he's not the only one who's lost people, and now they've got to complete their mission in order to make everything right. It's a great, hilariously honest pep talk, and we'd expect nothing less from Rocket. Steve and Peggy's relationship may be the best and most tragic relationship in the MCU. The two are obviously perfect for each other, which just means we knew that things were heading towards heartbreak. At the end of Captain America: The First Avenger, Captain America has gone from zero to hero and attempts to save the world from weapons of mass destruction. He takes control of Red Skull's ship and is forced to make a big sacrifice to stop it from killing a lot of people. Steve has to crash it into the Arctic. It's a sad moment, but even sadder is his last conversation with Peggy, where, both knowing what he's going to do, jokingly reschedule their special dancing date for later. Peggy tells him not to dare be late right before Steve seemingly perishes in the Arctic. It's sad watching Steve get separated from his one true love, but their funny conversation reminds us why these two are so good together. Luckily, Steve doesn't die here. The real funny yet sad moment comes at the end, where Steve wakes up in modern times and, once realizing where and when he is, simply says, "I had a date." Oh man, we're happy they ended up spending their lives together. What do you get when you take the quippiest motormouth in all the galaxy and trap him in space with a deadly, serious, cybernetically enhanced assassin? A dark sense of hilarity. Well, space is a big place, and we assume they just got lost taking a right turn at Saturn instead of a left one because after 19 days, food and water started to run out. Tony was so certain he wasn't going to make it that he even recorded a goodbye message to his one true love, Bruce Banner. But of course, we didn't see those messages and saw his recordings of Pepper instead. But even in the face of certain death, a situation not many should find funny, seeing Tony and Nebula interact, bond, and play silly games is still enough to warrant a few chuckles. Their contrasting personalities makes for comedic gold, and we wish we could have seen more interactions between these two. Quicksilver often gets a bad rap. Sure, his costume looks like he just stepped out of the gym rather than looking optimal for crime fighting, and he'll always be the lesser of Marvel's Quicksilvers thanks to the much-praised Evan Peters version in the X-Men films, but at least he died doing what he loved, showing up Hawkeye. By the end of Avengers: Age of Ultron, aka everyone's least favorite Avengers movie, Hawkeye and Quicksilver had developed an interesting dynamic of trying to one-up each other. Their rivalry culminated when the speedster saw Hawkeye and a civilian about to be gunned down. Quicksilver sacrificed himself to save them and became Swiss cheese in the process. He even got to say didn't see that coming before he died, which is something the two said back and forth to each other throughout the movie. It's supposed to be sad, yet his final quip, along with not really caring about Quicksilver all that much to begin with, made us chuckle in our seats. Hands down, the most emotional moment in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie is Groot forming a protective cocoon of sticks and wood around his friends and telling Rocket that we are Groot. It makes us cry just thinking about it, but another really funny, really sad moment came shortly after. With Ronan being defeated with an epic dance-off and the galaxy successfully being guarded, our ragtag group of anti-heroes were finally able to stop and breathe for a moment. While at least 4 out of the 5 of the Guardians, as Groot was now just a scattered pile of sticks amongst the rubble. As Rocket mourned his friend, it seems like the literal-minded Drax would be the last person to know how to comfort Rocket in his grief, but their moment together was perfect. Drax sat down and started petting Rocket, which is funny knowing how much Rocket detested being treated like a pet earlier in the movie. Although initially surprised, Rocket eventually went along with it. It's a sad moment, but also funny as we get to see these two alpha males bond in a very simple way. If you're a fan of Vision, you probably felt some strong emotion in the climax of Avengers Infinity War. Despite our heroes' best attempt to remove the Mind Stone from Vision's forehead, they just couldn't do it before Thanos arrived. Their only option was for Scarlet Witch to destroy the stone while it was still in Vision's head to stop Thanos from getting it. But the side effect was Vision joining the great metal junkyard in the sky. It's emotional to see Scarlet Witch have to be the one to destroy the robo-person she loves in order to save the universe. Too bad it was all for nothing. Moments later, Thanos simply reverses time to bring Vision back to life so he can just kill him a second time much more violently than the first. It's supposed to be a sad moment, but it's actually quite funny when you think about it from Thanos' perspective. Was he just letting Scarlet Witch purposefully kill Vision because he knew he could just bring him back immediately after? Luis is the MVP of the Ant-Man franchise, played perfectly by Michael Pena. Scott's best friend has quite a few scene-stealing moments in the first Ant-Man, though not as funny as his long, drawn-out way of retelling stories. One of his earliest scenes in the movie is equal parts sad and hilarious. When Scott gets out of jail, Luis picks him up and the two quickly catch up. Although Scott's been in jail, Luis has had just as hard of a time as Scott did by the sounds of it. While Scott was locked up, Luis's girlfriend left him, his mom died, and his dad got deported. But at least he got to keep the van. Who needs a girlfriend or parents when you got a '72 Ford Ecoline? It's the perfect car for any situation. Need to commit a crime? Use the van. Need to outfit it with a quantum tunnel to allow entry into the quantum realm? Use the van. But overall, this moment is a sad look into Luis's life, but Michael Pena's cheerful delivery makes it one of the best moments in the movie. Oh, and nobody tell Luis that his van was destroyed in Endgame. That might be too much for this poor man to bear. How did Nick Fury lose his eye? It was a question on everyone's minds ever since the mysterious secret agent was introduced in the MCU. When Nick Fury was announced to be a main character in Captain Marvel and still had both of his eyes, we were all pretty sure we were about to finally get the answer to how he became the eye patch wearing leader we all know and love. Nick Fury lost his eye by getting a little too friendly with a goose, a deadly flurkin disguised as a cat. It scratched Fury's eye at the end of the movie, resulting in his partial blindness, and we can't help but be a little saddened by this event. This is how the great Nick Fury lost his eye, by being scratched by a cat. But on the other side of things, it's hilarious to know that this super mysterious and deadly agent actually lost his eye for trying to cuddle with a cute creature. Classic Marvel. The world doesn't deserve Baby Groot. He's probably the cutest thing in the entire galaxy, right behind Hulk wearing clothes and glasses. Although we're sad that regular Groot died in the first Guardians movie, maybe it was worth it so we could have the joy that is Baby Groot in our lives. So it's almost downright cruel to watch anything bad happen to the little guy, but clearly, the Ravagers don't see Baby Groot as the adorable creature he obviously is. They're the type of people who name themselves Taserface, so that goes to show you that they're not all that bright. And we were already rooting against the Ravagers after they turned on Yondu, but they took it too far by harassing Baby Groot. They treated him like a plaything, forcing him into a Baby Ravager outfit he struggled to get out of, and gleefully poured their drinks all over him. Seeing Groot sadly trudge through the ship's halls defeated and broken almost broke us. In fact, it was so sad that we couldn't help laugh at the situation. Good for you, Marvel, for making us care so much about a tiny tree, but you know we cheered really loud when Baby Groot got his revenge. Thor Ragnarok reinvigorated the Thor franchise, set up the character for a multitude of new adventures, and basically saw Jeff Goldblum playing himself. It wasn't only one of the best action-packed, trippy MCU adventures to date, but it was hands down one of the funniest. Thor was always a little funny, but by leaning into Chris Hemsworth's knack for comedy and letting Taika Waititi do his own thing, Ragnarok turned the franchise into more of a goofy comedy than the light Shakespearean drama we got from the first two movies. One laugh-out-loud moment of dark humor comes at the end when Thor, leading his band of now kingdomless Asgardians, tries to set a course for their new destination. He asks the insectoid warrior Meek where he wants to go, but his lovable companion Korg is quick to point out that Meek is actually dead. Korg explains how he accidentally stepped on Meek, killing him, and now he was just carrying his dead body. It's the perfect mixture of sad and hilarious, as we can't help but laugh at how absurd it is. Of course, it's all undone moments later when Meek is revealed to actually be alive. But we can't complain because you could argue Meek is the true hero of the MCU. Thor's bravado is one of the funniest things about his character. He just gives off this general cocky attitude that screams, "I'm the strongest, best warrior in this room," and most of the time, that's entirely true. But after years of bravery and cockiness, Avengers Infinity War did a great job of highlighting how Thor has to put on a brave face to stop all of the pain that he holds on the inside from coming out. Because really, Thor has lost a lot. If losing was a sport, Thor would be the MVP. Throughout the MCU, Thor has lost his parents, his siblings, his home, his true love, and by that we mean his hammer, Jane, his best friend, and almost all of his people. After all that loss, it's funny to hear him confidently tell Rocket that he's going to kill Thanos. Although we laughed, we realized he only said that because he had no other choice. He can't give up or else everyone will have died in vain, and he can't speak honestly or show weakness because he'll never win that way. It's not only one of the saddest and funniest scenes in the movie, it's one of the best scenes in the MCU. Ah, young love, there's nothing quite like it. Spider-Man had a completely different experience in this department. Through Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man attempted to woo his fellow classmate Liz. But in a shocking twist, it's revealed that Liz is actually the daughter of Adrian Toomes, the villainous Vulture. When Peter goes to pick up Liz for the homecoming dance, he comes face to face with the villain, sucking all the air out of the room and creating this vacuum of tension. It's a sad scene though, as Peter's attempt to be a normal, everyday teenager has now gone up in smoke. He finally got a chance with the girl he liked, only for it all to come crumbling down around him. But it doesn't mean it's not funny. The two heroes who probably love each other the most were the ones sent to Vormir, and the result was Black Widow's death. Don't get us wrong, this is an incredibly sad moment, but it's funny to see these two highly skilled assassins fight each other in an attempt to off themselves faster. No, I'm going to kill myself. Not if I kill myself first. The context is funny, but it's an overall emotional sequence that ends with a sad Hawkeye becoming even sadder, which we didn't think was possible. Overall, it's pure luck that these two regular humans are the ones to make the trip to an unknown alien planet, or else this would have been a much different situation. Could you imagine if Rocket and Nebula were the ones to travel to Vormir? Yeah, that Soul Stone would have remained there. In Iron Man 3, Tony Stark faces his greatest enemy, and no, it's not the Mandarin. It's anxiety. After almost dying by traveling through a wormhole with a nuke in the first Avengers movie, Tony is suffering from severe panic attacks by the time his third solo movie rolls around. It practically cripples him, haunting his thoughts and dreams and sending the former billionaire philanthropist on a downward spiral. If this sounds sad, you're right. It's absolutely heartbreaking to watch Tony struggle to come to terms with what happened and attempt to move on. But on the other hand, Tony Stark is one of the funniest humans on the planet, and even though his mind is severely damaged, he still maintains his sharp wit and clever comebacks. Even though we should be saddened by this situation, Tony still winds up making it hilarious. Is there anything that this man can't make funny? Maybe we're secret supervillains, but we wish Tony was alive just so we could see how he finds a way to make more sad and heartbreaking situations humorous. Although he looks like a kind, old Shakespearean Santa Claus, maybe Odin wasn't the best father to his 3 children. His firstborn, Hela, was his personal executioner and helped Odin conquer the 9 realms through war and violence. But after Odin grew a conscience, he locked her away for a millennia. He quickly covered up her existence and focused on his 2 sons, one biological and one adopted, a fact that seemed to greatly influence his parenting style. Thor was always the favorite among the siblings in the eyes of his father, which just made Loki even more resentful and desperate for his father's approval. In fact, despite being the villain, Loki's whole plan in the first Thor movie was motivated by trying to win his dad's love. He manipulated the situation and wound up with the chance to destroy the ice giants once and for all. Something Odin probably would have loved back in his Hela days, but of course, Odin still rejected him. Watching Loki be treated poorly again and again by Odin is sad, but also hilarious, because Loki is just so desperate for his approval. We love rooting for him because he's just so charming and entertaining. Well, that's our list of the saddest moments in the MCU that were secretly hilarious. What are some moments you both shed a tear and laughed your butt off? Be sure to let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more awesome MCU content. As always, thanks for watching.